morning, guys. I am headed to work. Some very exciting things are happening right now. I don't have any schoolwork to do for the next 2 weeks, and so I'm gonna try really hard to knock out at least the end of Project EW, and then I have to backtrack and like fill in all of the little holes, and hopefully that'll be the end of draft 1. But there are a lot of holes, and hopefully today is a lot quieter than yesterday. Yesterday was a bit chaotic. I actually ended up being responsible for plunging a toilet, and that was delightful. I was successful because I rock. It was definitely not what I wanted to do with my afternoon. However, I'm gonna head there. I'm going to probably grab a drink on the way, and then the first hour or so is usually pretty quiet, so I'm gonna try to get as much done at that point. As talk a little bit more about what I've done to prepare for these 2 weeks a little bit later, but the first little while in work is usually pretty silent, so I'm hoping to get quite a bit done in that portion. Okay, time for a little update really quick. So, I have officially scared myself into not continuing, and that's a really frustrating point to be at. I'm not going to not continue, but that's where I'm at right now. I always get to this point where I'm writing is not coming out the way that I want it to, and I have this deep understanding that I will revise, that it's never going to be what I want it to be on the first pass. A story that I've been working on for like 5 years now. Not quite that long, 3 or 4. It is so hyped up in my brain because I do think it's going to be one of those, it's just a really good story. It is one of my favorites that I've ever decided to write. Not even that, but it's like all of those stories that I've always wanted to read that never gave me enough of that feeling that I wanted. This is that story that I'm telling to myself. And so when it doesn't hit that, it feels pointless. I'm going to continue, but that's where I'm at right now. So for a little bit more context, this is Project EW. It's the one that like I said, I've been reading or writing for about 5 years. It's very all over the place as its storytelling method. Think like Addie LaRue, maybe Cloud Atlas. I've never actually seen or read that one, but I think it jumps around in the same way. It's very complicated in the way that I need to finagle the ending to be, and the entire story throughout, but the ending especially. And right now what I've done a whole lot of beginning and middle work, but the ending has always been that piece that like I kind of fluff around with until I nail it. I really wanted to get that down, at least written. I wanted it drafted so that everything else that I was writing, I could lead towards this point. And I have a pretty good understanding of the story, and I'm very nearly actually, I think I've got it all of the little intricacies settled in my head. I've never written a story like this, and so I don't know the process of how I'm going to put it all down, and I know that there's going to be a lot that needs to be fixed. However, I'm taking the end and I'm drafting the end. I wrote out right here little summary pieces of different scenes in the end. I'll hopefully be able to completely draft to the end of the story. I know it's not going to be right. I can't fix it unless I have it down. There's a part of the story that is, I don't know how to convey the information that the character needs in the end. Everything is happening obviously in her point of view, and she never actually meets the antagonist in the capacity that her existence in the world lives in. She only knows how she's manipulating Gwen's life. I don't know how to convey the antagonist's intentions to the reader without in a way that gives them the information but also makes it so that the main character can actually complete the story without having all of the pieces but the reader still understands what's actually happening. I think I figured out the way that I'm going to do it. There are like little snippets of storytelling in other stories at the very beginning of a chapter. I forget what it's called, but it's like a short paragraph of some sort. And I think if I can do that, I can actually do what I'm trying to do with it. The question is whose perspective I'm going to be writing it from. So the whole story is the legend of this main antagonist. Legends surrounding this character are told as oral traditions within the community. I'm either going to have it be her mother that tells this story, or I'm going to have it be antagonist herself. But I'm not entirely settled on that. It depends on the angle that I want to take with it. Like, I think the mother would be able to give me this sort of emotional, generational community connection to the story, and that's what I want. That's what I like. But nobody really knows the purpose of this legendary character other than her. All they have is legends and stories and myth. And so it really will depend on, I think, finishing the actual story and figuring out how I really want that to go. Taken those scenes that I've already written and I've reworked some of them, and I'm putting them in where they need to be structurally in the story, and it's coming along quite well. And if I have any luck on my side, as well as determination and all of that other stuff that I actually need to have in order to do this, then I'll actually be able to finish it, and I'm really excited about that. I hope to finish Project EW by the end of the year, in the capacity that I could have somebody else read it. So that's the goal. Maybe by next year I'll be able to publish this one, but really it kind of comes down to how well I think personally that I can pull this story off. I've probably already made the announcement at this point, but I do have a story out for pre-order. It's called Finding NiinTak, and you can find it on Amazon as well as Kobo. I am working on getting it on all of the other ones, but it's like a straight experiment. I've got to be semi-quiet because tonight I took over a night shift at work. The cool thing is that I don't have any schoolwork because I'm off of school for this week, and it's really exciting. Tonight I'm feeling pretty great. I can write for the next 8 hours or so. I'm really hoping to get quite a bit done tonight and tomorrow night. Tomorrow night I might feel a little bit worse. Today I actually feel okay, which is really surprising because I tried to take a nap today. It just didn't work. I ended up waking up with a huge headache and was like, this sucks. That took some ibuprofen because it needed it. I'm feeling a lot better now, which is really nice because everybody is in bed and I'm just chilling for the night. I'm kind of hoping for a 5,000 tonight, 5,000 tomorrow night. If I can get more, that'd be great, but I doubt that that's gonna happen. I have to stop for paperwork for a little bit around 11:30, but the rest of the night is pretty much mine. Good morning, everybody. I'm so tired. It turns out that my stamina is not even close to what it used to be. I only got about 2,000 words, which is great. I'm not saying that it's not, but I was really hopeful that I'd get like 5,000, but I think I need to build my stamina back up because right now I've been doing, you know, like 200 to 500 words a day, and it's been great. Getting me steadily there, steadily where I want to be. But I just wasn't able to do the amount that I want because I don't have that muscle of those high word counts anymore, and I'd really like to be up at that point again someday. It's not going to happen immediately, I know that. I am still working very heavily on school, and so that's the priority. It'll be a while before I can actually get those high word count days again because I do have to do all of my schooling first, which means that Project EW is going to take a lot longer for me to publish, which makes me sad because I love it, and I think it's going to be, you know, about 2 years if I'm estimating right, and I probably am overestimating. I do have Finding NiinTak coming out September 1st, and I have not officially made an announcement video about that, but that's all because I'm not trying to do a launch necessarily. I'm trying to build a steady system that will allow me to do this for a long time rather than, you know, this big blowout and burn out really quick on it. I know myself, and I know that that's not going to work for me. Which is one of the main reasons why I think self-publishing will be better for me in the long run. That doesn't close off TradPub in the slightest, but for now it does allow me to understand the systems a little bit better, which is kind of the entire goal. Hopefully tonight I will get a little bit more on the word count front, but I make no guarantees. I do, however, I am still pretty well on track for finishing the ending of the story at the moment, so that is pretty great. Okay, forgive the lighting. It is currently 10:42. I cannot start my paperwork until 11:30. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the next 45 minutes, and when 11:30 hits, I'm gonna stop writing. So I'm gonna do a sprint. It's gonna be about 45 minutes long, and then I'm gonna jump onto my paperwork and bang that out and jump back into writing and see how much I can do today. I'm really hoping that I can actually push through a lot more of what I was struggling with last night, because I really would like to reach the end of this book. Like I've said before, I'm not actually like gonna be done with the first draft. I'm just writing the end, so that I can have a better idea of where I'm going. Like, I know how it ends, but it's a lot of the like little details, actually the really big details, that I need to figure out so that I can aim all of the rest of the story towards it. And there are certain things that I'm trying to figure out that still haven't quite clicked yet. I'll update you guys on where I'm at the end of it. My word counter, I got just under 200, which I know does not sound like a lot, and it really isn't. I'm editing the video right now that you're watching, and I had a whole long section of video that I was explaining something on my computer, and I had it flipped around, and I couldn't figure out how to blur the text on the computer. The gist of it was that the system that I'm using to work through the end of the story is basically, I will take the scenes that I have in Scrivener, move them to a Word document, and I've made a complete outline of the end of the story that I can write through, because having it over there is just easier for my brain than having it on the Scrivener document. I have it on Scrivener. I'm not terribly fond of it, but I have it on there because it's easier to move the scenes around as I need them to, especially right now where everything's kind of up in the air, nothing's solidified. It's easier for my brain to kind of conceptualize what's going on there. And so I'll write in the Word document, I'll actually draft there, and then I'll move it over to the Scrivener document where it needs to be. And so I'm just kind of drafting through the end of the story that way. And I think it's going to be around 10 to 20,000 words is what I'm going to end up with here. And now that I'm saying that, I do think that that's overshooting what I'll actually be able to do in the next week, but I'm still going to shoot for it. At the very least, I'll have more words written. So I do officially have to stop and do paperwork. Really, I can put off the paperwork till the very end of my shift, but that's not the way my brain works. If I don't get it done now, I'm going to be thinking about it all night. So I'll do that. I'll jump back into the story after, and hopefully get a decent chunk of words written. Tracking the words is kind of tricky though, because like I said, I'm working in several different documents, and I'm adding and subtracting, and so it's all over the place. All right, I tried this earlier, but like it's because everybody was gone, but literally as soon as I pressed start, somebody came back that was not supposed to come back. So okay, time for an update. My night shifts are over. I'm back to work on my regular schedule. It wasn't too bad. I definitely didn't get as much done as I really wanted to. I'm still working out the why. Like, I know I keep saying this, but this is such a complicated story. And a lot of it is like that I just need to draft it, but because it is so all over the place, I'm having a hard time conceptualizing how it should actually go. And it's really frustrating. I'm still putting in the time, but that time isn't always necessarily fruitful. And so I think I need to come up with a different tactic for it, and I'm trying to figure out what I want to do. I know, you know, writing sprints are probably going to be a thing. I'm going to have to sit down and like pick something that I'm going to write and just write it no matter how it comes out. But I am such an annoying perfectionist that that's hurting my soul a little bit. Like, I want it to come out the right way. And it's always really frustrating when it doesn't. So that is complicated. I am dealing with a lot of fatigue today because of the night shifts. I ended up taking like 3 naps yesterday to recuperate. Today I am working a little bit on the story. I'm still off of school. I have Monday I start back up again, and it's Thursday, so I've got like 3 days left until I need to get back to. I'm kind of dreading these ones because the next one that I have is the second level of literary theory. And I really didn't like my first literary theory class. I enjoy analyzing stories. It's really fun to me. But anytime I would submit an assignment, the feedback that I got was, this is a great analysis, but you need to go deeper. And it's like, I don't know what you mean by going deeper. I've gone as deep as I think I possibly can. And like, it's not like I'm not putting in the work. It's not like I'm not analyzing the story effectively. He's just like, it's not enough. And that is a really, really sucky thing to hear when you're doing a lot of what you're told to do or what you expect you have to do. So I really hope the next one is better. It kind of looks like we'll be covering a lot of the same stuff, which I don't like that because it just feels redundant. And why am I taking a class that is literally the exact same thing as I just took? I'm hoping it is different. I have about an hour and a half left on, I keep looking at my laptop like it's gonna, you know, give me something good to say. I do have about an hour and a half left of work. It's pretty silent right now and should remain that way for the rest of the time. So I'm gonna really try hard to actually get something done. I know that I will have to adjust what I'm doing when school starts back up, but I'm kind of sad because when school starts back up, I'm gonna start feeling like I'm doing a whole lot, which I will be. When there's a lot to do, I have a hard time compartmentalizing all of it. And so it's not that right now I have this to do. It's like blocking off time, not like right now I have this to do. It's no, right now I have this, and then this, and then this, and then this, and it's all in that same segment. Like, I can't separate the tasks in my head to focus on one. I will definitely try to continue vlogging. It's been a lot easier this week because I feel like I can do it. I do think that I'm going to kind of try to come up with another system that I can use that'll help me actually get the words down rather than just the thinking and thinking that I'm never going to be able to do this the right way. I know that I've got to finish it to know what I need to do to fix it, but the finishing has always been a really big struggle for me. Like finding NiinTak, the book that's coming out, it might have already actually come out already, September 1st. That took several years to finish, even though it's like a 20,000 word novella, because I don't know why. It's simple. It's not a difficult story to tell. It was just like, the idea that I could possibly finish something is very foreign to me. Great at starting things, building systems, and consistency has always been a struggle. And it has gotten better, especially, you know, postpartum, it was a really, really big struggle. But getting back into school has really helped me be a little bit more consistent and showed me that I can't just need to like do the thing. In another note, it is like autumn-ish. We've got leaves changing color, and that's kind of depressing, but it's also like, I don't know, very life-giving. I love the changing seasons. I don't know if I just needed to berate myself a little bit, talk down, and, you know, make myself feel guilty about not writing as much as I want to, because like as soon as I finished that update yesterday, wrote, it wasn't a lot, it was like 500, but at 500 within like 20 minutes of that, and that is pretty huge. And I know what I need to write. I wasn't finished with what I was doing, but I did finish work, and so I had to leave. Sometimes it's unfortunate that I do. It's because, you know, I don't get to write a whole lot at home because it's more chaotic. But I did write quite a bit, and it made me really happy, and I know where I'm going for the most part. It really, a lot of it is just like figuring out how I want it to look, you know? It's like the method of transportation of information. This guy needs to figure out how to do something, and I need to figure out how to convey that information to him without it being like, oh, you know, just very obvious stuff. I figured it out. I had a conversation with a couple of my writing buddies this last week, and we kind of talked through a lot of stuff, and so I've been mulling that over the last couple of days, and something finally clicked, and I just started writing, and it came out, and it was delightful. It's what I always hope to happen when I write. Like, if I could do that every day, it would be great. I'm probably somewhere in the tune of like 4,000 right now, and that doesn't feel great. But at the same time, it's still more than I've gotten in the last several months, and that does feel great. I think I'm mostly like, I'm comparing myself to what I was capable of a long time ago, when I had less kids and less things happening, and my life wasn't as chaotic, and I wasn't dealing with some of the things that I'm dealing with now. Like, I dealt with them, but I deal with them differently now. Like they were issues that I didn't know that I had, and now I know that I have them, and it's making me second guess like all of my life decisions and overanalyze every little bit of my life, and the writing goes into that, and I don't like it, but I'm working through it. Like, I compare myself to that point in my life all the time. I have to remind myself constantly that I'm no longer that same person. I've grown and evolved, and I've learned things about myself, and I've kind of, it's a weird thing to think, because like ideally we are always going upwards. We're always getting better and doing better, but like in reality, things happen that are out of our control, and sometimes that means that we get worse. And I don't like it, and I certainly don't like talking about it, so I'm not going to, but like, that's ultimately what happened. It's like I got worse, and I have to build that skill again. And that's probably the hardest thing for me to think. I do have to redo all of that, and it just bugs me that I have to. It just hit me that that's what happened, and that's another thing that I'm dealing with. It's wild. Over the next couple of days, I do hope to at least get to the point that I'd like to get at. My classes start on Monday, and I feel like these 2 weeks really kind of went by really fast. I don't like that either. I can't wait till I'm done with school. But I do only have a couple more days left of this break, and I'm gonna try to squeeze in as much of the productive writing as I possibly can. On the bright side, today it is nice and rainy and delightful. Very, very excited that it just is. I am back in pretty much the same spot that you've been seeing me like all week. But I want to know, let me see if I can find it again. I just had it. I don't know where it went. So when I am writing and I don't want to stop to ponder things, will sometimes not fully think through some things. Like if there's going to be a section where I've got to have the character think about something, but I'm not entirely sure what goes into it, I will give myself a reminder that I'm apparently not finding. Okay, I found a good example. I don't know why it took so long, but I did. Gwen thinks a think. He thinks a think. That is what I put in here so that I don't have to pause what I'm doing. And it works. It's effective. Almost done with work, but I have a couple of errands that I need to run. One of those errands right now is waiting. So I'm going to close out this vlog. I won't have enough time when I get back to work, basically, to do any more work or any more writing. So did I finish the end? No, the whole goal, the idea was that by the end of this break period from school, I would do as much drafting as I possibly can. So I didn't get to the points that I was hoping to get to today. However, what I did do, I've written a lot of the scenes that go into the story. A lot of what I need to do now and towards the end are basically mush them together and make them cohesive. So there are a lot of like the big revelations that she has, but I don't know what goes in between them. I did a lot of that today, actually. And I am working primarily on the end of the story, because that's what I feel like needs the most work. I really want it drafted. And the beginning, while it does need a lot of work and there's still a lot of drafting that's going to have to happen, there's actually a lot of changing things that's going to have to happen as well. So I want to work on the end, know where I'm pointing towards, and then go back and redraft a lot of the things that are in there. So this time I'm working on the end, and I'm going to continue working on the end until I can solidly say that the end is completely drafted. My break is pretty much over, and that's depressing. I'm very excited for the day where I can say that I'm done with school. That's going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to try basically to get my schoolwork done as quickly as possible so that during those like long stretches of time that I have, I can be thinking about the story. And I think that that's really a big problem that I have, is that I don't effectively give myself enough time to thoroughly think through the problems in the story. And I think that I just have to have it, like, I have to be able to just sit down and write when I do write. Thinking has to be passive, the drafting has to be active, but when I sit down to draft, it is more passive, and that's not good. And I think that that's where I need to work things out. So this week, because I will be getting back to school, I'm going to need to use my time a lot more wisely. But I am determined. I have, let's see, September, October, November, December. I have 4 months left of this year, and I'm pretty sure that I can actually finish the draft in 4 months. I think I can do it sooner, but I'm going to give myself to the end of the year to give myself a little bit of grace, because I need it. Like I said, it's the end of the day. I'm not going to do any more writing for the story in the next couple of days. So I'm just going to call it quits here. Let me know how you guys are doing. How are your stories? How is all of your stuff? How's life? Thank you guys so much for watching. And until next time, keep writing forward.